therapy took every penny I had to go once a week. So we would talk and talk about it, and it would just grab my nervous system and ramp it up and put me into hyperdrive, cortisol, adrenaline, heart pounding. I was getting worse and worse. I mean, 3 times in therapy and you just get worse. Just be like, why am I so much more messed up than other people? Everybody loves therapy. I now know not everybody benefits from talk therapy.
You ever blown up over something small, shut down for no reason, or felt a wave of anxiety just come out of nowhere? Those moments aren't random. They often are emotional flashbacks, old survival patterns from childhood getting triggered in ways that most people don't recognize. My guest today is Anna Runkle, the best-selling author and creator of Crappy Childhood Fairy YouTube channel. She's helped millions of people understand how hidden trauma drives our reactions and shapes our lives and how to break free from it. Anna shares how years of talk therapy actually made her symptoms worse and how simple daily writing practices helped clear her PTSD in just 2 weeks. She also challenges one of the biggest myths in healing, that it has to get worse before it gets better. And if you ever felt like your reactions don't match the moment or talking about the past hasn't changed anything, this conversation will give you a new way forward. Okay, Anna, welcome to the show. I am excited to talk to you because we speak the same language, you know. Mm-hmm. We love all things nervous system, regulation, childhood, something going on in the childhood we're going to talk about, adaptive patterns, how we show up. And I can't wait to really go into the details there's a shift, and I think we're going into what's in the body, the somatic part, the nervous system part, and moving away from so much of the talking and trying to just figure things out and really just kind of feeling.
Yeah.
So I have some rapid fire questions.
Okay, go.
Do you feel good?
Yeah.
Okay, you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. What is one sign of childhood trauma that people often actually overlook?
Feeling discombobulated.
And that means just like all over
where
the place.
you just like can't remember what room you were going into. You can't necessarily feel your feet. You trip over things, you drop things.
Yeah.
Clumsiness.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. I like that one. I want to talk about
handwriting changes.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. What's one thing that parents do thinking it's actually love or loving, but actually can actually be traumatizing to the child?
Gosh, anything even remotely like love is a fairly good thing. Honestly, I don't know if I can answer that.
Yeah, well, what's one thing parents can do that they think is a good thing for the child, but actually isn't, like overbearing or something, being overbearing?
You know what I think is really harmful to kids and adults is reframing their experience for them.
Reframing the child's experience.
Yeah, or an adult's experience. I just have I'm just so like at the end of my rope for people trying to reframe what I just said into what they think I should have said, kind of, or what the correct thought to have there is. I think that healing from trauma is so much about getting your perception back, and people absolutely need space to go, this feels dangerous to me. I kind of like this. And to let people roll with that. And people should not try to talk you out of your feelings. They should let you experience your feelings.
Having their own experience, really.
Yeah.
Okay. What's one of the fastest ways that we can begin regulating our nervous system as adults now?
Move your body.
Move the body.
Yeah, just move your body. If you had one thing to do, move your body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll go into why later, but I like that one.
Yeah.
Okay. What's one trauma myth that you think can be erased from the consciousness right now, that it's just not true?
That if you just talk about what happened enough, it will somehow magically stop bothering you.
No amount of talking will get rid of trauma?
Not for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I've made it worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's one boundary phrase that we can say to practice, especially as people pleasers or people who are living in fawn? What's one thing we could say for our boundaries?
For living in fawn? Okay, noted. Thank you.
And why is that so powerful?
It's not getting into like over-explaining and trying to justify yourself or anything. Just noted. I've been making a lot of videos lately about how to deal with people who are mean, cruel, don't like you, bully you, and what do you actually say? And like everything that avoids drama and engagement with them, but just goes closes the door, is powerful.
Okay, I actually that's really important for people because they may be in a job where they can't control who they're working with, and that person that they do work with can be like that. So it's really important information and I want to go into that later. Thank you. You're off the hot seat.
All right.
Welcome back. You are so lovingly known as the crappy childhood fairy. Mm-hmm. And how did you arrive at that name?
The name.
Yeah. And was it part of your own experience in your childhood?
Well, I did have a crappy childhood. There were some good things about it, but I grew up in a commune in Berkeley in the late 60s and early 70s. Mm-hmm. And it was not really about peace and love. It was about drugs and alcohol and, grown-ups finding themselves, but losing the kids, Mm-hmm. So it was a trauma going on there. When I learned how to heal my nervous system 30 years ago, and I didn't know, in those days, they didn't know it was dysregulation. There wasn't even a term complex PTSD. Yep. I was just some weirdo who couldn't handle life very well. But I worked in healthcare and community clinics and things like that for 30 years. I created a lot of medical education. So I was really trained about a certain way to talk about health and people. And it was very clinical and very kind of bullshit, mm-hmm. Never really say anything. I'm not a doctor or therapist. So one of the ways you can sort of hedge pretending you are, you don't want to pretend you are, I don't, is you just sort of never say anything. And so when I started Crappy Childhood Fairy, I called it Your Healing Year or something like that, something really safe. And I was like, this sounds like a sanitary napkin or something. Mm-hmm. Just like this, who would want this? I don't want it in any way, a year. I think you can do a lot in a year. I like the concept of a year to sort of focus. But I just realized every story I was telling, it was so sad, but I was boring myself to death with sad stories. Mm-hmm. And that's not really how I found it. When you actually know how to heal, when you know how to pop out of the way that trauma has held you down all your life, it's the most joyous thing. It's the happiest thing. I'm I bring glad tidings, healing is totally possible. And it's a practical path that anybody can do, whether or not they have access to professional help.
Which is that's an important part, right? Because I think that a lot of us have been convinced for A or B reasons that healing is this extremely long and could be a very expensive journey.
It's going to take a long time.
It's going to take a long time.
And it's going to be worse before it gets better.
Yeah. Okay.
I would have died if that were true. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, and thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Growing up in a commune must be a little chaotic.
Yeah, it is chaotic. We love TV. TV was one of my friends. And there used to be this cartoon called Fractured Fairy Tales. And people in my age category will remember it. And there was this little segue during the cartoon where this stumpy little fairy, she looked like a caricature of a deadbeat janitor in Brooklyn or something. And I kept saying she had a cigarette hanging out of her mouth, but I found it online. She didn't. There was no cigarette. But my mom, everybody had a cigarette in their mouth in those days. And she would fly around with this frowny expression, and then she would take her wand and go, ding. And I was like that. That's the energy I want. Yeah. I'm just this rough person who's there, I'll show you how to do this. Mm-hmm. But with putting on no airs, you know, of being I know everything. Mm-hmm. I'm somebody who lived through it. I know a lot about what do you do in a situation when you're freaking out and you're about to make a fool of yourself or lose your relationship. I know what to do. Mm-hmm. I have practical knowledge for people. So I started this. I was 53 when I started Crappy Childhood Fairy. I'm 62 right now. Mm-hmm. So people didn't really expect me to do something spectacular at that age. And but I had been teaching people for years my technique that I had developed, learned, and then built on, 30 years ago. I had been teaching it informally in 12-step programs as their sponsor. I sponsored hundreds of women in the one for families of alcoholics. And I would just teach anybody, relatives. I taught my kids. And I taught my ex-husband. And when he actually learned the techniques, he immediately woke up and he's like, I have to leave this marriage. It was sort of it was a really awful marriage. And when you have little kids, it's hard to face. Yeah. But he just it just helped. My techniques help you not only stop glitching out, but it's so much easier to see what's true and right in front of you and what needs to be done. Yeah. So it's not about always getting exactly what you want. I didn't want to be a single mom, but the truth was we had to get divorced. So it's this paradox of healing, that a lot of healing it involves shedding things that you put together from a trauma-driven belief system. And trauma-driven reflexes of just quick grab onto whatever you can. and then it can get happier. And that takes fortitude. So I have techniques that help you get through these periods of transition and loneliness when the old structures are falling away.
Yeah.
And you're building up a new, stronger set of standards and ways of life for yourself. So I wanted to tell you though, so when I changed the name of my channel, I had a blog first. I was trying to teach my techniques. I had so many people who used to ask me how to do it. I couldn't keep up. So I was like, here, I'll make a blog. I'll put it on, I'll make a little website. I got like Wix or something, and I made a little website and got it going. And then I wanted to make a video to show everybody, and I stuck that on YouTube to stream it in. Didn't go look there for a couple of years, what was going on. Turns out a lot was going on YouTube, and that's
A lot,
yeah. My blog was muddling along, and I was showing people. But I told my kids, I went over to YouTube one day to put a second video, and there were like, whereas I had like 100 blog followers, I had like 2,000 over there, and I hadn't even done anything, except for one video. So I was like, I'm going to YouTube. I was always like I used to be an improviser. I was a comedian. I was a video producer. I conducted 2,000 interviews as a producer. I'm like, what am I doing behind the camera? I got to get out there. And so that's when I really like launched. I think YouTube is like the perfect medium for me. I'm so chatty and intense people do well on YouTube. Maybe I'm too much for a lot of people in real life, but it was just a great medium. And I started to talk about my experience having trauma. My kids, who were teenagers, I have 2 sons. They were teenagers then. And they were like, no, moms don't do YouTube. Oh, God, don't do that to us.
Because they're young and on YouTube.
They're on YouTube all the time, and they perceived it as it's about gaming and Minecraft and funny videos of people getting hurt and whatever they were watching. Yeah. And they were just like, no, you can't do this. And so that's one of the cool things, is that my family is so very impressed that this is what I had inside me to bring to the world.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
At whatever age, too.
Yeah. It took a long time for me to build the experience to do this.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you have your methods for sure, and I want to go over a little bit of that. But something that really stuck out for me was, in this process, at whatever age, however deep you go, there is always shedding. And it really stuck out when you said, our life can become just the result of all these trauma-based decisions informed by our childhood.
Yeah.
So what does an example look like? Let's say someone had to grow up in a household where they needed to be in fawn or people-pleasing. How can their decisions throughout life come to the place where they go, oh, wow, I'm about to change and I need to shed my whole life? Could their whole life be a result of people-pleasing?
Oh, I hope not. And I want to encourage people, like, you never have to do everything at once.
Yeah.
The thing that needs to be done right now is presenting itself to you. And I'd say usually the thing that breaks hardest is the primary relationship. And it's really easy as a person who was neglected or abused as a kid to make a trauma-driven decision. And it's this weird thing. It's not even, I don't even want to call it a decision. It's not really happening on that cognitive level. The attraction to broken, unavailable, or even abusive people is, we're not really in charge of who we're attracted to. It's very deep. I suspect it comes from infancy attachment, and we have no memory of that. We didn't form it on purpose. So that is, I think, one of the hardest things to get at. You can't get at it like through anything surface. It's through steady, always applying things, being in community with other people who get it and are there to catch you when you're about to go date that guy, or there to help you, and people you can be honest with. I think most of us who grew up with trauma, the trouble is we isolate. We don't tell the truth to other people about what's going on. It's embarrassing. We feel ashamed. It's hard to fit in, and it's easy to think that we don't fit in strictly because of being poor or being in a terrible relationship or having all the physical signs of living with trauma in your body. You could look kind of worn down. It's very hard to like look your best. So you think, oh, that's why, I'd have to lose 20 pounds, for anybody to really like me or anybody decent. But really, like, what's going on is just a total shutting down of your light as a person. Like, everything has to be hidden. Everything has to be controlled. Everything is a mask, and even from yourself. And if you do that long enough, you don't even really know who you are. The people who are right for you, for friends or partners or people to work with, they can't find you. They just can't find you. There's this dimness to people who are living in trauma. I mean, I can totally see it. And one of the greatest things is witnessing somebody when they kind of have their breakthrough, their epiphany. They're like, oh, wait a minute, it's not happening right now. I'm just still like looping in it.
Yeah.
And they pop out for a little bit. And they're like, and they literally will start to shine. There's this light in people. Their eyes become bright. For me, I mean, it happened quite suddenly when I had the right techniques. My skin changed color. I had a really kind of pallor or grayness to my skin, and it turned rosy, and it just had a brightness to it, something that, now they sell like very tiny glitter particles to look like that. But when you're feeling it, it just shows. It shows, and it's very attractive, and it has a lot of good energy to it that will help take you in the direction you're meant to go in. So there's a lot of little pieces to healing. It's like, I don't know. I know a lot of people will say, just tell me the thing I have to do and how long is it going to take? And I'm like, I wish it was like that. But you can actually get like dramatically better very quickly, first by re-regulating your nervous system. Then it takes a while to learn how to do life because you didn't learn before.
Yeah. And you said a lot of the time it could be from infancy. It could be your experience of how you relate to others from the get-go. It's the only thing you really know. Nearly 47% of all protein powders that were tested exceeded California's Proposition 65 safety limits for lead. Get this for real. 21% contain more than double the acceptable amount of this harmful heavy metal that can affect your brain. But I want you to think about that for a second. So many people, might be us actually, so many people consume protein powder daily thinking that they're doing something healthy for their body, and they have no idea that they're likely consuming lead above safety limits. It really defeats the purpose of trying to fuel your body with quality nutrition. And you probably heard me talk about how important it is to get 1 gram per pound of high quality protein every single day. I've done shows on this. Now, the problem is not all protein's created equal, and clearly not all protein powders are safe. You need protein that your body can actually use, that is not contaminated with heavy metals, that you can consume yourself or give to your kids. I love Peori. I love Peori. It's one of the top companies on Heal Thyself. Peori's PW1 whey protein is one of the top proteins out there. In the recent Clean Label Project study, Peori was the only brand that was both Clean Label Project certified and had the Clean Label Project Transparency Certificate. They're literally the only brand in the entire protein powder category with this level of certification. Every single batch of Peori's whey protein is third-party tested by the Clean Label Project for more than 200 contaminants, lead, heavy metals, pesticides, you name it. And the best, there's a QR code, boom, you could see the results for your batch. They are the most transparent company out there. Every serving gives you 21 grams of minimally processed, clean level, high quality whey protein from grass-fed cows, no hormones, no GMOs, no pesticides. It comes in 2 flavors, vanilla and chocolate. So if you would like to get your hands in one of the top quality proteins, you get 20% off site-wide at Peori.com/DrG and use the code DRG at checkout. The code even works on the already discounted subscriptions, giving you almost a third off the regular price. That is PUORI.com/DRG. The code is DRG. Let me talk to you something that has been a total game changer in my home, and it's probably not what you think. It is an air purifier, because what we breathe in matters as much as what we eat or drink. And air quality in our homes can be filled from everything from mold spores to pollen to smoke to allergies. And air purifiers are so important. Most of them are going to be in plastic boxes, make a lot of noise. And then I discovered the Jasper. The Jasper was brought to me by my sales team, and they said, this is a fantastic air purifier. And I looked into it, and it was true. I loved it so much that I got the founder on. And what immediately caught my attention is the design. It's so many of the air purifiers are clunky, antiquated looking, 90s looking, and this is sleek, quiet, and powerful. But here's what really got me. It's built with steel, not plastic. So we're talking about machines that are actually built to last. So Jasper handles everything from smoke to mold to pollen, all the allergens that make you feel terrible without you even realizing why. Whether you're dealing with seasonal allergies, live in an area that is susceptible to wildfires or smoke, or just want the cleanest air possible in your home, get this. I am confident that you will love it. It has a lifetime warranty. Yes, lifetime. That tells you everything you need to know about the quality and engineering that goes into these units. Since I've been using my Jasper for about a year now, I have 2 running. One's on the first floor, one's on the second floor. I have 3 actually, 1 first floor, 2nd, 3rd floor. And I've noticed cleaner air, better overall sleep, and just an overall sense that my home environment is clean. The air is nice. We tested it. We have people come in and test the air and they say the air is super clean. Thank you, Jasper. Go to jasper.co/DRG and use the code DRG for $200 off for a limited time. That is JASPR.co/DRG. The code is DRG.
Yeah. Well, during your infancy, that's a time meant for us to form our nervous system and the neurology of connection. Mm-hmm. And so if that wasn't nurtured properly, you might be walking around with quite an injury that's causing a lot of difficulty in connection. And a lot of that can be healed, is my experience. After all these years, I'm still a little weird in that department. I can strangely detach in moments.
Yeah.
It's hard for my husband sometimes. And but because I have enough knowledge, like, to be able to, and I trust him if he goes, it just feels like you just left the room, or you have this sharpness in your voice right now. Like have you ever heard of emotional flashbacks?
Like literally going back into an emotional flashback?
There's this weird thing. Pete Walker, the therapist who wrote Complex PTSD From Surviving to Thriving, very good book. He's one of the pioneers to define he's a therapist. He has CPTSD, but he defined a lot of like what it was like, and he gave names to it. One thing he named was an emotional flashback. So, with like standard PTSD, we think a combat veteran, and it's like a cliche in movies. They wake up in the middle of the night, they're sweating, they're screaming, they think the battle's going on, and then their partner wakes them up and goes, "It's okay, we're here, we're right now." And they go, "Oh, yeah. With an emotional flashback, it's probably coming back from something in infancy. You have no memory. There's no memory attached to it. So you don't think you're anywhere. You just feel terrible. You feel so scared or overwhelmed or angry. And so when I first read what he described there, he called it a toxic cocktail of anxiety, rage, or it's panic, rage, and grief. The great sadness, like how, that you just think, yeah, that is how a baby would feel when it was hopeless and nobody came and they were crying and hungry and filthy and nobody came. Those feelings, they just they waft up sometimes. They get triggered by something, who knows? You don't even know what just happened. So I knew exactly what that was in me. It was this thing where I'm saying, I get it when I wake up in the morning occasionally. And it goes like this. I wake up and I just start fretting about things. And I'm like, oh, this didn't get done. I have to do it. I guess I have to do everything. Damn it. I have to do everything around here, don't I? And I used to think, oh, it's just the life of a mom, but it's not. It's an emotional flashback. And it's really hard on the people around me. I wake up with I got this chip on my shoulder. And there's basically, my husband would sense it and he'd start inching away from me because what was coming is me going, well, are you going to do the thing you were going to do? Because I'm sort of sick and tired of it. I just be very intense in a negative way. When I read that book when it came out in 2014, it just was like I had a name for it. And I was like, okay, it's a thing. It's a thing. And when you have a name for that, then when it's happening, you can start to recognize, is this an emotional flashback? Maybe I better throttle down a little bit here. Maybe I'll let my husband off the hook and, use my tools here, get a little perspective on things and see if usually nothing is out of place. It's just the usual chaos of the house, nothing special is happening.
Yeah, but it feels like it.
It feels like it. And it feels like everyone has let me down. And so that's, I have an even worse emotional flashback. See, I know them so well and now I know what they are. And when I'm having that feeling, I can go, is this what I'm thinking? The thought is, I don't need you. I don't need anybody. That's an emotional flashback. So when you know it, then you can pause and you can stop damaging your relationships with behavior that's trauma-driven. That's a trauma-driven behavior. It's not your fault you got like that, but nobody's going to fix it for you. No amount of my husband going, it's okay, honey, I'll do everything. A, he's not going to do that. And B, even if he did, it wouldn't fix anything because it's in here. It's this, it's in here. It's a trauma wound. So those are some of the things, nobody knew this before.
Yeah. Yeah. So more information is coming out to really put the pieces together for so many people. I haven't heard of that. I've had moments where I'm just like, well, I have no trigger, but I actually feel like this anxiety and I feel sad. I know that those are things moving up in my system for a reason. It's like, hey, just take some time and actually be with me for a moment. To kind of feel it. So it's like, I wish this wasn't true, but I think it is true, almost unequivocally, is the childhood. It's everything about the childhood that really informs the adulthood, especially the relationships. Is there, I mean, for you, what is one of the top signs that you are dealing with some unprocessed material from childhood and you've brought it into your relationship?
Well, what I've learned about how this affects me, I'll tell you, I went to a lot of therapy, and I hit a crisis point 30 years ago where I got attacked on the street. That was not about my childhood. It was like a contemporary trauma. I got beaten unconscious randomly on the street with bones broken and things. And when I went to the hospital, they said, okay, you have a broken jaw, you have broken teeth, your ear is separated from your head. I had these wounds, and they could fix all those, but they go, your brain is fine. But I wasn't fine. I had PTSD. They didn't, I think they just didn't think of it as a non-combat thing at the time, so they treated it as an emotional problem. And so California graciously gives victims of violent crime a pot of money to get some help. So I had all this money, and 30 years ago, therapy was like, took every penny I had to go once a week. I had to do without, I had to put it on credit cards. And so I had this pot of money. I was going 3 times a week, and we kept talking about what happened. They got out of the car. There were 4 of them. First I thought they were just going to go somewhere else, but then they came towards me, and then I thought I would offend them. So we would talk about it, and it would just grab my nervous system and ramp it up and put me into hyperdrive, cortisol, adrenaline, heart pounding. Couldn't think, couldn't focus, could never remember anything we talked about in therapy. Nowadays, many therapists know, like, it is known, but I think clinical integration of knowledge is slow. I used to work in healthcare, and it can take 20, 25 years for a new idea to really permeate all the providers. So not everybody who's getting therapy is dealing with somebody who knows. Like, if somebody's getting very agitated from talking, use a different modality. Talking can be loaded with triggers. So I was doing the worst thing. And that time they then said, I'm not getting better. I'm freaking out. I can't function. I can't, I'm yelling at everybody. I'm about to get fired. And they said, oh, here, take some Xanax. So then I was like completely freaked out and kind of like loaded.
Yeah.
And, it was just a mess. And what I know now about regulation, talking was dysregulating me again and again. Drugs were keeping me from re-regulating. So it was kind of like a double whammy of the worst thing you could do for me. And I started to get better. I started to get better using a technique that was about writing to express myself, that randomly, the friend showed this to me. But it's this key moment in my life that it was a life and death moment. I was really thinking I could not keep living the way I was. I was so hopeless. I was getting worse and worse. I mean, 3 times in therapy and you just get worse. Just be like, why am I so much more messed up than other people? Everybody loves therapy. I now know not everybody benefits from talk therapy. So it's normal. It's total normal response to talking about it. But so I found another way. And within 2 weeks, I didn't have PTSD anymore. I had better mental focus than I'd ever had. Now, when I say I didn't have PTSD anymore, remember, I was never diagnosed with it. I was never undiagnosed with it. None of that happened, but I know enough about PTSD. Like, I've spent years learning about it. I'm like, yeah, that has to be what it was. And I've had confirmation from professionals like, yes, of course, that's what it was. But I was able to get re-regulated very, very quickly. And that's why I say the idea like this is going to have to be terrible for a long time. It doesn't.
Yeah.
When you learn to re-regulate, you can find emotional comfort right away. We have to have emotional comfort. It's got to feel better quickly. And from there, you can start to work on the things that are more than just feeling better. It's like changing things. Mm-hmm. How will I change who I'm attracted to? So I actually have a healthy attraction rather than an unhealthy attraction. How will I get my red flag detector back? How will I learn to be a more honorable person? How will I learn to be present with people when they need me instead of, consumed with problems? Those take practice. They're very practical problems, and I think they're often moral problems. That's one thing I think is kind of hard to get, is help with moral failings. And I learned this from people who are in AA, and they work on that. That was incredibly helpful for me hanging out with AAs. I'm not an alcoholic. I would have wanted to be at the time because what they were doing made total sense to me. And my problem was life and death like theirs. But what they were doing was working out like where they had hurt people, which I totally had. And there were very real reasons why I was feeling lonely and disconnected. And I think when I was in therapy, the therapist was often trying to protect me from self-critical thoughts that would push me over the edge. But I kind of needed that a little bit. I needed more of that, of going, well, there's this thing you're doing that's alienating people. Why don't you work on that? And so for me, that was where it's at. And what Crappy Childhood Fairy is, it's not therapy. It's like somebody who gets in your face on YouTube and goes,
kind of shakes you up a little.
You jump into the sack with somebody. What do you expect?
Yeah. The fairy.
The fairy.
It's the fairy that now I'm seeing that vision. I have to look that up.
Go slow, my dear.
Yeah, you have to look that up. Fractured fairy. I got to look it up, the picture. And so you mentioned this writing, this technique. What is it about writing that begins to tell the nervous system you can begin to start regulating now?
It's a little bit of a mystery, but a lot of research has been done. There have been like 200 peer-reviewed studies on a technique that a friend of mine, Dr. James Pennebaker at University of Texas, Austin, developed over years. He calls it expressive writing. And he would teach people. He just did it with students. They would set up labs and, test these things. He just got regular students here, write about something that's been very upsetting for you. He told me that he just kept hearing that, that people, that a lot of people were depressed. And you think, why is that? So he'd say, write about it. What's getting you down? And they would write for 15 minutes, four days in a row. And lo and behold, they felt a lot better after 4 days. They felt better every day, and especially after 4 days. And then even when he checked their blood composition, it was different. Even when he checked their blood a month later, it was different. So he said, there really seems to be something about writing. And so some of the things that are known, I think there's some unknowns and there's some knowns, just some hypotheses about it. But one is that connection of brain to hand and expressing. Like when I teach people the writing technique, they go, can I do it on my phone? I'm like, it's not going to have the same effect. You need hand to paper. I like pencils. There's the most friction. The feeling of friction in a pencil writing on paper, like the minute I'm writing now, I start like releasing stress. I've done it for so long now. But you're writing your fearful and resentful thoughts and feelings on paper in a very specific format. I teach it in the book. I teach it online for free. I'd teach it to you right now, but it's a little bit nuanced. And if you don't do it right, it can make you feel worse. It's just like in the way that hitting pillows when you're angry can make you feel worse. Using this technique without the technique can make you feel worse. But it's a way to write it with the entire intention to release it or have a higher power remove it, as you will. And then to follow it with meditation, but not meditation where you're like, oh no, I have to empty my mind. No, meditation where you're just like relaxing. You just relax your mind. And when you face and name what's troubling you with the intention of releasing it, and then you relax for a while, it's incredibly powerful to start clearing out the clutter of your mind. It's very cluttered in there. I've learned in the past few years that it doesn't just feel like a decluttering, it is a decluttering, that the trauma wound can leave you with an inability to process thoughts and feelings. They literally get jammed up like a clog in the drain. There, you can't take in new information very well. You can't come to conclusions about what you're perceiving. And so, boy, is that a disability when you're trying to make a good decision or change your path. So you need a little space in there. It just gives you a little space for a while. People go, I don't know, I'm a little scared of losing everything I'm angry about. I'm like, oh, don't worry, you'll never lose everything you're angry about. It comes back, but it gets better. A lot of the stuff that's just like residue from the past that you don't really need your anger about it anymore. You just can't stop feeling it. That'll just start to clear up.
What does it feel like? What does it feel like before here I am going through so much in my life and I'm attracting all of these terrible partners and my work is going down the drain. And then I go, okay, I want to try this writing technique.
By the way, you're not attracting terrible partners. You're accepting terrible partners. It doesn't matter who's attracted to you. It matters who you fall in love with and let into your life. Right. So go on, though. Go on.
So then here I am writing. I start this writing technique. In 4 days, will I have a physical difference in my body, emotional?
I don't think so. That's James Pennebaker working with normies.
Yeah. He's got the normies. For people with some complex stuff.
But complex stuff, I felt better the first time I did it. And, I was in a very bad place where I had a very dark plan for the next day. And this woman, she just said, hey, you want me to show you what I did? I don't know why I told her I was feeling that bad.
Yeah.
And I went into her, she lived in this like very funky warehouse in a very funky part of Oakland, which is already funky town.
Yeah.
And we stayed up all night, and she talked to me about her experience. She lived on the streets of the Tenderloin in San Francisco as a teenager. Alcohol was her thing, and she couldn't keep it down anymore, had to get sober. Her name's Rachel. And when she got sober and was going to AA, she was miserable. Like without alcohol to fix her mood or help her check out, she didn't have a way to cope. This beautiful woman named Sylvia D came along. Sylvia was one of the founders of NA down here in LA. And originally in her life, in her younger life, she's since passed on, but she showed my friend Rachel how to do this, how to write her fears and resentments on paper. And it's very, people who are listening will go, that's in AA, right? And it's like, it is, but almost no one does it twice a day. So this was like a group of people I stumbled into. They were just like, balls to the wall. We're going to get free of this fear and resentment, like again and again and again. And they would have these meetings that would go on for hours where people would come in, and as they were listening to people share, they would get resentful, about stuff people were saying, which is honestly what happens for any group of people, but certainly, a bunch of people sobering up. And they would just be exhorted. It's like, well, just start writing right now in the meeting. So it was this just like continual like shower of just cleansing from this torture of like terrible, fearful, resentful thoughts and feelings. And scientifically, what I now know was going on. Like I knew it felt better. It's done like a prayer, in the spirit of a prayer, God, please remove these fears and resentments. And then later when I met Dr. Pennebaker, I was really helped to understand the science also. I think science and spirituality will always match if it's real. If it's really helping people, there's a reason on both levels. And what's going on is it's assisting with that processing of unprocessed thoughts and feelings, that drain clog of thoughts and feelings, and processing. Like I used to hear that word and I thought it meant when you have to talk to your boyfriend all night long because you're fighting and it goes nowhere. What are we going to do? Are we going to process all night? But processing, turns out it has a happy thing. And it's when you take a charged experience that gives you adrenaline and cortisol or an emotional flashback, and it becomes a mere memory. It's processing as whatever it takes to get it to where it's a memory. I remember that, but I don't activate over it every time it comes up. So that writing is very, very helpful for processing thoughts and feelings that haven't been through that process yet. And I think there's probably a lot of levels that it's powerful to do that. It's getting honest with yourself. You also have a chance to read it to another person and just like have that happy experience of sharing what's in here with somebody else. And having them accept that and just be like, I get it. I know what you're talking about. I've had that too. Good work. That's so powerful.
To feel seen in that by other people too.
Yeah. And, these AAs who taught it to me, that's the fifth step. You share it with another person. You have to get open about the whole trouble with somebody. And so that was really nice. And for me, it was different talking to her, to my friend Rachel, than it had been to a therapist because she related to me. She related to the sort of like horrible, painful, shameful, hilarious, filthy wreck of, these experiences that we had. It didn't have to be repackaged into something like, oh, that's a child wound or something. It was just like, yeah, that was just shitty.
Yeah. I love the analogy of a drain clog, right?
Yeah.
It's all clogged up. You can't even actually think straight, right? Because there's so many it's clogged with material.
Yeah. You said, what does it feel like? For me, it felt like I had headphones on, blasting AC/DC so loud, but trying to pretend that I was totally here and heard everything that was said. And then just like frantically trying to guess how I was supposed to respond.
And then you took off the headphones.
Yeah. And then there's a way to take that off. And you're just like here. And it's very quiet. There's this incredible space and peace. For the first time, and this happened very quickly in my healing, I could decide what I wanted to think about. I go, I think I'm going to think about whether I need a car. You know, I never had a choice about what I thought about. I was like totally driven by intrusive thoughts all the time.
Which push the experience versus like your own sovereignty and autonomy of like, this is sort of what I kind of want to do.
Yeah, you know, I randomly picked car, but a car is a good example. If have you ever gone to a car lot? And you know, they're salespeople.
Yeah, they're walking around.
And they're pressuring you, and they're saying whatever they think is going to work on you. And if you're dysregulated, you're either going to blow up at them or you're just going to do whatever they say.
That's right.
You know?
wait, that's a good marker right there, right?
Yeah.
If you're approached by a salesperson who's pushy.
Yeah.
Can you say that again? Because
well,
I like this.
Yeah, like literally the first time I ever bought a car on a lot, I just bought the first thing that anybody suggested, and I paid what they said. And I was really embarrassed because I knew you were supposed to like look around and stuff, but it was so much pressure on me to have pressure that I was so dysregulated, I basically couldn't stand it. And I think that's a lot of how I chose where I would go to school and, you know, who would be my partner and where I would live. It was always just like, yeah, I just can't deal with all the indecision and the pressure. Just, yes, this, make it stop. So that's a trauma-driven decision.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of decisions I made in my life were just like the first one quickly.
Yeah.
Because any more mental energy is too much.
Yeah. I coach people a lot, like on many things about trauma-driven life, but in the area of like choosing relationships, because this is where your whole life can get locked down in the whole, you know, in a trauma-driven way. This is because what happens is, yeah, we got traumatized as kids, but it leaves us with these patterns of behavior that re-traumatize us again and again. And at a certain point, like more of your trauma is from now. And these are the things you can change, but it's very hard to change, like, who did you marry? Who do you live with? Who did you have kids with?
Yeah.
It's hard to change that. You can change it, but it's hard to face. And if you have abandonment wounds, even thinking about striking out on your own feels so dreadful sometimes that you think any amount of abuse is worth taking so that I don't have to face that. And I think anybody who's been through that knows exactly what I'm talking about, where you just think, well, maybe another day or another week or next year, or things will get better and then I'll have the strength to do something different, but I just can't right now. And there's an echo of, you know, you don't have the money. Money is such a big piece of having trauma. You know, being poor, being broke, not having choices there.
Yeah, fundamental.
And having money and earning money are things that respond very positively to re-regulation. You know, you can start to think rationally about, like, here's a trauma-driven behavior. Taking a job, you knew it was terrible going into it. It is, in fact, terrible. It's unfulfilling. It doesn't pay enough to live on. You hate the people. They're cruel to you. And you're just like, see, this is how the world is. And so to make that leap from where you are to something a little better, like, where are you going to find that power inside, that inner power? And it has to begin somewhere. And we think, they just won't give me a promotion. They just won't turn into a different employer. And it always is externalized. And so it's this brutal reality. It's like you're going to have to do something. And it might not be any particular thing. And normal people advice about blah, blah, blah. Some of it is useful. I was in such jobs for a long time. I was underestimated, and I underestimated myself. And when I had a kid, and I had 2 kids, and my husband decided to leave the marriage, and they were very little, and I was only making a couple thousand a month, and there was no way I was going to make it here in California. I had to do something, and it was great because all that focus and having the tool of my daily practice techniques, answers came to me. And so I read Susie Orman's book about money. I started picking up pennies and going to the cheapest gas station. I went to Weight Watchers and slimmed down a little bit so that I could look spiffy in business attire. I got 2 outfits. You know, they were pretty cheap, but they looked good. I got a haircut. I changed. I used to have like, they were like John Lennon glasses or something, and I got something that was more stylish at the time. At the time, it was little rectangles that were brown, you know, and I got that. And I started wearing makeup, and then I left my job for a .com job. They totally went out of business in 5 months. But then I had this mystique that I had worked for a tech company, and I parlayed that into twice the money I'd been making before. because I had to. And then I was like surviving. It wasn't like I was rich or anything, but I was okay. I could handle being divorced. And I'm not the only person who ever went through that. But I think that leap from where you are to where you're trying to get is it feels like this giant canyon, and that you're just going to fall into the bottom of it if you try to make the leap. That inner power has to come somewhere. And for me, it was the spiritual and clarity power of my daily practice to keep surrendering the fear and then meditating and letting the answers come to me. And they came. Like, there was guidance available to me, but it had to be I had to be able to hear it.
Yeah.
And then I got brave and I asked people who kind of knew what they were doing. I go, listen, I'm having trouble. I got to get my life together. And would you give me some advice? And that was terrifying for me, because when you've had trauma and you already kind of hate yourself, asking for advice that might be critical feels like an existential threat. What if they tell you something that just is so much you can't bear it? And so it was something about having my dear little boys that I was just like, well, I'm just gonna do it though, because for them I can do it. There was stuff I wouldn't do for me. The first time I tried to date after divorce, it was a disaster, and that was like the second point where I had to go, okay, it's time to completely change everything, and I will go to any lengths. And this was time for prayer. I had to just be like, God, I don't know how to do this, but I know you want me to be a good mom. I don't know how to stop the trouble from getting into our lives. And you're just going to have to show me, and you're going to have to make it really obvious to me, because I'm a little, I don't know why, I'm just not very good at this. Yeah. And I don't know, insight arrived. Insight came to me. People who could advise me came. This really kind man helped me out. He was like my dating advisor. No money or anything, no weirdness, but he told me just completely release this, let information come to you. So you're an attractive woman, you're a great person, but you have to quit trying to make it happen. I was terrified of that. It's like, if I don't try to make it happen, it will never happen. And, all the platitudes aside, I was making trauma-driven choices that were very much like me, trying to make things happen.
Yeah.
And not being able to take information in about is this right? How does this guy feel about me? If some guy didn't call me or something, I'd be like, call. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not really talking about dating etiquette per se. I'm just talking about my energy was just pushing me into bad situations and not allowing information to come to me. So I got help with things like that. So and I think your primary relationship is such an important connection. And if it's bad, it leads to a disconnection with almost everybody. It pulls you away from other people who might have been your friends or family. You know how a narcissistic partner will divide you from your family, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, I'm really into this. I'm kind of coming to the thing of connection. It's not just this little thing you change. It's a very deep change inside, where it takes a willingness. I just don't want to do the self-destructive things that alienate me. Mm-hmm. When I was going to the 12-step program, the first step is admitted we are powerless. And in the one for families of alcoholics, they say admitted we are powerless over alcohol. So I've never drank that much. I have a lot of alcoholics in my family. Most have died of alcoholism by now. But I knew that of course I'm powerless over their drinking, and I think some people would interpret it, I'm powerless over my reaction to it. But it wasn't just the drinking. There was something in present time going on with me. Yeah. Those people had all died, and I still had this. And now I knew it was complex PTSD. When I learned what that was, I'm like, that's the thing. The way that hijacks my nervous system, the way that even though I know so much, and I have a master's degree, mm-hmm. Why would I make dumb choices? Why do I self-sabotage like I do? I'm powerless over my tendency to alienate people when that's not what I want. I finally named it. That's what it is. And when you can learn to connect with people, when you can learn to re-regulate your nervous system, then learn to connect with other people, now you have twin superpowers. Now you're on the level playing field. People talk about a level playing field and they think anything that's done at school or something could ever do that for you. That's not a bad thing, but the level playing field is when you have a nervous system similar to somebody who has a support system. Mm-hmm. That's the level playing field. Mm-hmm. And you have to put that together sometimes before you have the support system.
Yeah. Without the regulated nervous system, there's no connection. You're shut down.
No, you can't.
You can't even connect to yourself.
You're
you can't
selfish.
even connect with what's true. Yeah. What's you don't even know what's true for you, right?
Yeah.
And you're making trauma informed decisions.
Yeah.
Which is a great way to look at it, because I think about how many people have made decisions in their life that were driven by trauma.
Yeah.
Work, love, even where they live, or the agreement to have kids with someone that they didn't want to have kids with.
Yeah.
Their whole life could have led to that. And I know in the beginning you said, I sure hope not, but I'm sure that people have come to that space. But also, and how empowering it is that we can start to regulate ourselves and start bringing back that autonomy of,
sovereignty and autonomy.
Yeah.
Agency. That's a nice simple word for it. I have the power to make this change.
Yeah.
And it's really easy. Like, I'm a YouTuber, so I have conversations with commenters and letter writers all over the world. One thing I notice is, like, people in the UK, there's a certain kind of hopelessness that I hear from them that's a little different from what I hear in the US. Like, everybody has hopelessness in some form. They have this national health care system that sometimes we envy because everybody gets to have it. But the thing is, there's often a very long wait. And so people will say, well, I finally got a diagnosis, but now I have to wait 2 years before I can see somebody for it. And they think, I'm probably going to die. And I'm the person who comes in, I'm like, no, there's so many things you can do. Who knows? By the time you get that 2 years passes, who knows where you'll be. But there's so many things you can do. It's actually in your hands to start re-regulating. And it's getting better and better. But when people put on their little profile, when therapists put on their profile that they're trauma informed, that could mean anything. It doesn't mean they really know about dysregulation or somatic healing or any alternatives. It could mean anything. That's one of my things. Like, my master's is in public policy, and I don't work in policy. I haven't for a long time. But if I did, I'd be like, you can't just say trauma informed. You have to be more specific.
Of course.
About what it is. You could be a lifelong trauma expert, who's all their life been researching and working with people, or you could be somebody who went to a single Saturday workshop for continuing education.
I've seen the profiles. I know.
Yeah. And that's really like, when nobody really has money to just like infinitely have first appointments. Hardly anybody has that kind of money. So as somebody who grew up on welfare, I also would change this cliche that it's like, you need a good therapist. Oh, you just need a good therapist. Well, what is that? There's no transparent profile of like who's had some success with people like me. But also, did you think everybody has that kind of money? Almost nobody does. And especially when you look at the world, almost nobody has access to that. So I would I would change the cliche that everybody just needs that. I think everybody needs agency and tools that they can use anytime, whether or not they have access to professional help.
Mm-hmm. And those tools largely are free or very low cost.
Well, the ones I teach it's paper and pencil. You could probably steal that at your office if you need to. And you should, because it'll make you more productive. Yeah, it's a good trade.
Yes, it is a good trade. You mentioned in the beginning the importance of movement. We spoke about writing, that's some hand movement, but you're talking about actual body movement.
For emergency measures, moving your body is probably the most immediate thing you can change. Like, sometimes I just realize, like, I've got myself down a rabbit hole of some kind. I've been scrolling for an hour and a half and I lost track of time, or I'm just feeling enraged about something that, like, at my stage of life, it's almost never necessary to be enraged about something. I have feelings. Emotions are good, but I'm spinning. I'm spinning on something, or I can't sleep. And the immediate fix is go outside and move. And I say move your body because I think there's a lot of like influencers and stuff. They're like, do weight training and stuff. And that's all awesome, but you can't do that on a dime. Instantly or for a dime. It's like the thing that you can do right away is like step outside. I don't know. Are there leaves and dirt on the walkway? Go get a broom and just sweep it. Sweeping is actually very satisfying. It's got friction in your hands. It produces order visually, and it moves your body. And the sun, the weather is upon you, and your nervous system is calibrating. What day is it? What season is it? Where am I? You will feel better if you sweep the walkway. And so isn't that lovely? And you could do things that aren't productive, but I just tend to do twofers where, there's always a lot of chores undone. And I'm like, okay, if I need to move my body, why don't I go, put that junk in in the storage shed.
Is that a nice formula for you? It's something that creates friction, creates order, maybe it's outside.
Yeah.
Is that what you look for when moving your body?
Yeah, those are nice to haves, and you can put those together. Other things that are very regulating are moving your body with other people. Mm-hmm. So any type of a class, if it's a group hike or your friends and you are walking down the street, like that's super powerful for your nervous system. Your nervous systems are all talking to each other. You're sort of helping each other recalibrate. There's this whole language of the nervous system between people. I'm fascinated with this. I've heard a theory like we're all just nodes on one big nervous system. Mm. But when people talk about like reading the room or feeling a vibe or the collective consciousness, I think that's what it is. Our nervous systems are these incredible sensing organs they're just like running our bodies and helping us be in relationship to the environment and to reality, all the way out to outer space. You know, we're feeling it all. Mm-hmm. We're living things within the universe and we're connected to it all. And so your nervous system is an extraordinary thing. When they do visualizations where it's like lit up, mm-hmm. it's an animation. It doesn't really have like electric neon light running mm-hmm. through it or anything, but it's an animation and you look at it. I always think it looks like an angel. Mm. It's very beautiful. And who knew? Your nervous system isn't, you know, when we say nervous system, it's not just about whatever you think it's about. It's running your hormones. It's running your immune system. It's running your sense of time. It's running your sense of connection. It's running your digestion, your heartbeat. I heard this phrase once. I've become somebody, I am a God person. I believe in God. But one of the things that was really illuminating for me when I was just like, is there really anything out there that cares about me? Because the best I could do was think, well, I know there's a healing force inside my body that heals my skin when I tear it. And when I get a virus in there, my body does this amazing thing that I don't know how to make it happen, but it does happen to heal a cold or an illness. So there's something going on. It put me through puberty, you know, it grew babies in my tummy. It ended my periods at the right time. Like it just knows what it's doing. I'm always like moving in the correct direction with my body. And your healing from trauma is part of that. So I'm telling people, like, picture it as a river. If your higher power is a river, it has a current. And when you kind of let yourself be in it, it's taking you towards that good direction. But your nervous system is trying to repair itself all the time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, depending on the nature of your damage, it'll be one thing or another, but there's a direction, there's a current working for you here. It's very powerful. It's both outside you and part of you, and it's yours. It's yours to have, and you're meant to have it. And so for me, so much healing happened in such clear ways for me that it was more than that. I felt like, no, there's like a power that knows me personally and that has a plan for me, and was always giving me this urge, like, I've healed, I'm healing now. I never say I'm done. I'm never done. I will never be done. It's always a process, but it was meant to be used for something. Mm. And that started nagging me, and that's where this came. Mm. I had the idea for this so early in the process, but my life wasn't in a place where I could do that focused work of writing a book. And gradually my life did get into that place, and I had a lot of experience and knowledge, and I had worked with so many people. Yeah. Then when you have a YouTube following, this is like a business practicality. If you want a book deal, you kind of need a following these days. Yeah, it's true. So I forgot about the book. I did the YouTube, and the next thing you know, I qualified. Mm-hmm. I got to write a book. Yeah, I got a 2-book deal the first time I tried. So, amazing. Yeah, so that was nice.
Amazing. I love to hear that. And I love the spirituality aspect of this, because it's so true. Like, there is something working for us, and you know, as naturopathic doctors, that is our mantra. How do we align ourselves with the body's own intelligence to give the body what it needs and remove the obstacles to healing? So my question is, what are the biggest obstacles to that river flowing?
I think it's the fearful and resentful thoughts. I mean, when it comes right down to it, it's not that it's all mental, but it's that those thoughts drive us into actual concrete realities that become the problem. Like if you're in an abusive relationship, it's pretty difficult to get your act together and make a change. Mm. I say that sounds judgmental, get your act together. I mean, gather up the inner power to take a leap, you know, where when you don't have the money, the resources, the friends to make that change. It's gathering it. This is where your higher power, by the way, is on your side to give you the power that you don't have. I always feel like, we gather up all the inner power we've got, then we ask for more to make the changes that need to be made. And it's scary. But the obstacles, in my first book, Re-Regulated, the obstacles are disconnection, dysregulation, disconnection, and self-defeating behavior, which is everything from addiction to black and white thinking to attraction to unavailable people to, getting out of your depression through conflict. Like when you're depressed, being all angry, conflict with people or getting online and trashing other people and ranting. That's all. I think that's all an effort to get out of depression. Anger is like tantalizing at first. It's just that it gets very sucky. It's like smoking cigarettes. I used to smoke a lot of cigarettes. It's like after a while, it's just like, where is this going? And it's not even fixing you anymore. But that's that. I zeroed in on connection in this book, Connectability, because if you can't connect with people, your healing is very limited. Yeah. The injury of trauma is relational. And the path out is relational. You need practice with people. So there's always this is what this book is about. Some people are total isolators. They're probably not even going to buy this book because they're just like, I can't deal with it right now. I got my dog. I got my little place to live. I'm good. But a lot of us, we're trying to have better connections. We want those connections. But at the same time, what we're not aware of is that we're holding people at arm's length. And I call that covert avoidance. It's just like a hidden from ourselves way that we're holding people at arm's length. And it's totally innocent. We're trying to manage dysregulation and stress. We're just trying to keep our heads together enough to keep showing up at work, keep not getting evicted, keep, whatever people we have in our life from getting fed up with us. We're just trying to hold on. But if we do that, it just doesn't, we're not allowed to develop fully. And, everybody acts like, oh, you turn 18 and then you're an adult. The development just keeps going. You just keep growing all your life, hopefully. And for that, you're going to have people. So many times when I'm coaching people in dating, they're like, well, I took a year off from dating. I think I'm ready to date now. And I'm like, what did you do during the year? And they're like,
just took a year
same old stuff. Yeah. And I know what's going to happen. It's like the same old stuff is going to happen. It's not just, that there's this illusion, if I could just get away from people, my inner power. And up to a point, yes, if you can have a little solitude sometimes, you will recharge. But there's a limit on what that can happen. So that avoidance, that lack of connection, and it's not always personally driven. A lot of us are bullied because we're different. We were bullied in the past or we're bullied now. We're not included now. I had a family who always treated me like the black sheep. To this day, I can't figure out why. There's no reason. I had a whole neighborhood of women who treated me terribly, bullied me, slandered me. To this day, I could hardly tell you why. I made a video about it, and the video turned out like so many people are like, that happened to me too. Like, we're all going through it. We're getting judged and isolated and put down, and or we're in jobs where we're undervalued, or we're not able, we're resentful every day because we're like, I'm capable of more of this. Why can't they see it? Why don't they promote me and give me a raise? But they're not going to if you're not, doing the thing and they're receptive to it. You might have to change jobs. It's just it's a series of logistical problems, but we're nowhere near as limited as we come to believe we are. And I'm not saying, oh, you can be a millionaire, you can 10x everything. I don't even care about that stuff, for me, like a happy life is you have some people to love and they love you, and you have a comfortable place to be, and you have meaningful work, and your if it was children, you have children in your life, and if it was a lovely garden, you have that. But it doesn't have to be these extraordinary things to have a happy life. But the core thing, nobody's on their deathbed. I'm being a cliche here, but nobody's on their deathbed going, I should have posted more Instagram or something.
Yeah, no one.
It's always about like, could I have more loving relationships with people? I had a rough argument with a relative recently. I was worried we would never see each other again. We were arguing about the news of all things. Like I usually won't do that, but feelings were running high a couple weeks ago, and we had these different points of view, and we both were just really awful to each other, like just like that over text, like that. And it was terrible. This is somebody who really means a lot to me. And I was literally thinking, well, that relationship is over. But through my daily practice, my higher power was just like, Anna, you've got the love for this. You can do this. And we hung out together the other night. We had the best time. It was so great. And we connected and we were laughing. And then halfway, we had said, let's not talk about current affairs. And at the beginning, and we agreed. And in the middle, I just sort of said, when we were having our little spat, I just want to tell you I love you. Feelings were running high. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I totally love you. I don't even care if we're the same or different. I'm so glad that you're you. And we just hugged. I've got tears in my eyes right now. I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful. There's a loving power that can lift me out of those moments where I would alienate people I totally love. This is somebody I've always longed. We were separated for years, and by circumstances beyond our control, and they're back in my life right now, and I'm so glad. And that's what I consider a miracle. That's like this is like a great life when you are capable of doing that. Yeah.
And you had your tool to come back to your truth through the writing, taking that moment of reflection, meditation.
Yeah. Again and again. And, but it wasn't just like my truth. That's a little bit like my truth was just angry. My truth was petty and selfish and just like, I'm not going to deal with anybody who stresses me out.
Yeah.
That's not a good position. And especially like, I'm the crappy childhood fairy. In my private life, that doesn't matter, but what does matter is that I serve a lot of people in this world. Like I serve as a lifeline for people to help them get through these rough moments. And every time that a miracle happens for me, I can share it with others and extend that helping hand of hope and a little bit of instruction, like here's what you do. But where that was just grace, that wasn't like my truth that came through and just like filled our relationship with love and gratitude. It was just grace. Sometimes it just comes to you. There really is a power that's there to help you. If you can open up to it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have your healing perfect either. That power comes to people who are on the street, who are at death's door, who are about to do, who have already done the crime. The power can help. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful orange color on this connectability book.
Yeah, thank you.
This is your second book. Your first one was called what?
Re-regulated.
And what was that all about?
Re-regulated.
Now that's a beautiful blue.
Yeah.
For the listeners, we got a beautiful blue. It's got some yellow sparks and it says re-regulated. And then the new one is orange.
Yeah.
I'm a visual.
Yeah. I'll tell you the subtitles here because they tell you a little more. Re-regulated, set your life free from childhood PTSD and the trauma-driven behaviors that keep you stuck. That's like Tough Love Fairy. Is your behavior, sweetie?
Yeah.
And the connectability, heal the hidden ways you isolate, find your people, and feel at last like you belong.
So do I need to read the first one to get to the second one?
You don't have to. If you're really into it, though, you might want to because it's, it's kind of like the broad spectrum, and then we go deeper into connectability. Re-regulated is already out in 6 other languages.
Cool.
Too. Spanish,
amazing.
French, German, Portuguese.
Amazing.
And other languages.
And when does the connectability one come out?
October 7th.
Okay, so right around the corner.
Yeah.
Viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
I can say confidently that we are the number one measure, at least for me, in working in somatics, is the ability for someone to want and desire to connect to people, having better, deeper relationships.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that I look for when someone says, I don't know, I'm feeling better. I'm just, I reconnected with my old friend and we go out all the time. Well, okay. Yeah. Great, you are actually feeling better.
Yeah.
And so amazing that you wrote a book on that.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what we need. We want community. Yeah. We want connection. We want to feel like seen and loved and with real deep connections. So we have a guide over here. And in which book do we have the expressive writing breakdown?
Both of them. We'll teach it to you. And I have a free course. I'll leave you with the link.
Amazing.
If people don't have a penny, just come to my free course.
Okay, come to the free course.
And you can learn it in about an hour.
Okay, amazing. And your YouTube, you're very active.
Yeah.
How do people, is it the same, is it your fairy name? What's
It's called Crappy Childhood Fairy.
Okay, cool. That's on
and
YouTube.
I have a website, same name, where you can find the courses, the, coaching programs, the, everything we offer, webinars, retreats.
Amazing.
I'm all over the place. Yeah.
You're doing it all.
I have a life mission. I'm trying to help people learn this with practical methods, step by step. This is how you can change this.
And you are.
Yeah.
And you are with things like this. So I hope viewers and listeners re-listen to this if you need to. Send it to someone you love, who you know needs to hear this message. What I love is your relatability and your openness to share your own story. I think that people, and hopefully the viewers and listeners had this experience like me, will connect better when you hear someone speaking from their own experience, and versus you sitting like, do these things because these things work and these don't work and I know everything. It's really just a genuine part of it. And I can see why so many people love your work. And I really appreciate you coming authentically.
Thank you.
Coming authentically, which is for me another measure of healthy nervous system. So I appreciate it. Everyone go check out the book and the books and send it to someone you love. And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.